Chapter 25. Ardov's goons grabbed me, but they didn't put me with the others. Volonic was shoved back down to his seat.
"Thank you, Zeke," he said. "I knew you would not abandon me."
I didn't want to mention I would have done the same for a total stranger, and probably with less hesitation. Maybe I wasn't being fair. The biggest strike against Volonic was that I had been convinced he was a traitor. But now I knew it wasn't true. Could I really blame him for wanting to look after Tamret and for living by the codes of his own culture? I thought about it for a second and decided that I could blame him. Yeah, I had no problem with that. Plus, he'd just gotten me captured. I was in full blame mode. Colonel Rage was now standing in front of me, shaking his head. "I know you must be confused, son," he said. "Don't call me that," I snapped. "You sold us out." "I'm trying to get everyone home safe," he said, "and to protect our planet. If the Confederation doesn't stand with us, those fads you hate so much will be setting up shop on our world. You want that?" "That wasn't the choice," I said. "It was never the choice." "That's the one I made," he said. "It was the best option." "When?" I demanded. "When did you go over to the other side?" The colonel sighed, then held up his bracelet. "I've been trading messages with Junip since we snuck off from the reptile house. I was worried we might die out in the desert, or that the search for the hidden fortress would be a dead end. Since Confederation citizens couldn't enter the fortress, I figured talking to him didn't put us at risk, and it didn't hurt to keep our options open." "I guess you were wrong," I said, not bothering to hide my disgust. A guy like Junip would always find a way to get what he wanted. The colonel should have known that. "Looks like I did get it wrong," he admitted. "But then I didn't have all the facts, did I?" He tapped his head, but I knew he was referring to mine. "Did you also tell Junip about our plan to escape on different ships? Is that how we found out about it?" "I did not," he said indignantly. "I would never have compromised the mission. I only turned to Junip when I thought our survival was in jeopardy." "I don't believe you." "Actually, he's telling the truth," Smelly said. "He's not evil, just desperate." "Then how did he find out about our plans?" I asked. "Dr. Roop said we'd been found out." "Yeah, I'm not sure you need to sweat that right now." I turned away from the colonel in disgust. I hated Ardov, but at least I knew what he was. He didn't pretend to be anything but a bad guy. He didn't take the convenient way out and then claim he was doing the right thing. "What do you want from me?" I asked him. "How does this end without anyone getting hurt?" "I want the tech," Ardov said. "Then let's go look for it," I told him. "This never had to be a contest, Ardov. I'm on the station because Glee-Wixix wanted me to find that technology for the Confederation. Junip didn't want me to, and now he does, which kind of puts us on the same side. So let's go get the tech and hand it over. Everyone wins." "Except now, I'm thinking we don't even need to look for it," Ardov said. "There could be all sorts of former traps and security measures in there. Going inside could be taking a foolish risk. Meanwhile, the colonel tells me you have it inside your head. I could just deliver that to the director instead." "Yeah, I kind of want to hang on to my head for a little while." Ardov shrugged. "Not my problem. We can get the technology and get rid of you at the same time. It's not such a bad deal." He turned to the others. "Let's move out of here."
"What about them?"
one of the Vauclair asked, gesturing towards the others still sitting on their hands. "Take the rations, but leave them. If they live, they live. If not, no loss." "Hold on," the colonel said. Ardov glared at him. "Silence, primitive. I give the orders here, not you. You can come with us if you like. You've earned as much with your loyalty to Junip, but if you prefer, you could stay here with your thirsty friends." The colonel glared at Ardov. "I'll go with you, but I don't like this." "Boo-hoo," Ardov said. "I really don't like that guy," Smelly said. "He's way worse than Tamret's sweetheart." Ardov walked over to me. He pushed me in the chest. It felt a lot like someone playfully slapping me in the torso with a refrigerator. I staggered backwards, barely keeping on my feet. "The colonel swears you have access to this tech. I haven't seen any sign of it, but I'd love to test what it can do. Your new tech versus my old one? Sounds fun, right?" He shoved me again, this time not so gently. I fell backwards. My chest felt bruised, and I thought I might have cracked a rib.
There's some bone damage there, Smelly said. Fortunately, I've been holding out on some healing tricks I think I can use on you, so give me a minute to get you fixed up.
Well, Ardov demanded. I can only use it in short bursts, I said, because I don't have the regular skill tree. Interesting, Ardov said. Think of what I'll be able to do with both trees maxed out. I'd rather think of you rotting in prison, I said. Ardov turned back to the colonel. Do we need his whole body, or just his head? I'm not signing off on you killing him, the colonel said. Let me put it this way, Ardov said. If I bring back Zeke's head, and the tech doesn't work, I'll make sure Junip hands your planet over to the Fads. So do I cut off your head, or his? The colonel looked away. His, he said softly, then turned to look at me. I'm sorry, son, but I can help our planet a lot more alive than dead.
This guy really has an inflated sense of self, Smelly said. Oh, and get up. I've got about 15 seconds to full power for you, so whatever you're going to do, you're going to have to do it in speed mode. Are you ready? I pushed myself to my feet. My chest was already feeling a whole lot better. Yeah, I said aloud. Go, Smelly said. With a thought, I was stealthed. The main thing I had to worry about was keeping my friends out of harm's way, so I willed on the speed function, and there I was, the Flash, zipping from one of Ardov's henchmen to the other, knocking their PPB pistols from their hands. That ate up almost a quarter of a second. I then took 2 of the PPB pistols, set them to stun, and fired off shots. In speed mode, the slowness of the pistols was excruciating, and I had to keep running so Ardov's buddies couldn't get a fix on my location. It was impossible to get off more than 3 shots per pistol each second, so it took a good 2 seconds, which felt like hours in speed mode, to knock all the henchmen out. I had at least 10 seconds left by my estimate, so I turned off stealth and faced Ardov. Once again, I said, you underestimate me. You think you can stop me? He asked. I'm greater than you can ever. That was as far as he got, though, because I started firing both pistols at him. I'd seen him taken down by a PPB stunner before, so I knew that 1 blast should do it. But I figured 4 couldn't hurt. Okay, 6. After 8, I started to feel bad. You can only fire a ray gun at an unconscious guy for so long, no matter how evil he is, before you start thinking it might be overkill. I stopped at 10. Then stopped again at 14. I think you got him, son, the colonel said. I turned to face him, both guns up. Your tech is offline again, Smelly said. You're on your own. I think I'm good, I told Smelly. To the colonel, I said, you're only still conscious because I want to know why you did it. You know why, he said. I was trying to protect our world. That's all I ever wanted to do. That's exactly what Mrs. Price said. Nora Price sided with the wrong team, he said. But in any conflict, there are going to be civilian casualties. You knew there were risks when you signed on. And I've always been ready to pay the ultimate price for my country. The colonel was probably about to say more, but instead he collapsed in a heap. Someone had stunned him. I turned and saw Tamrat holding a pistol. I hope you don't mind, but I couldn't stand listening to that anymore. And what's with the adults from your planet anyway? Are they all traitors or something?
I did not give you permission to fire a weapon at anyone, Volonic shouted. She turned on him, her pistol still raised, and for a moment, I thought she was going to shoot him too. But instead, she lowered the gun. I didn't ask. But the use of violence, except in self-defense, is forbidden under caste rules unless specifically sanctioned by me. Tamrat shook her head. I'm getting kind of tired of these rules. How can that be? Our rules define us. Volonic turned to me, a look of pleading on his face, but I wasn't about to offer him any advice. Tamrat seemed to have decided that survival was more important than her vows to Volonic. I saw no reason to put that particular genie back in the bottle. Listen to me, Tamrat, Volonic said. I demand very strongly that you put that weapon down. Tamrat turned to me. What's the plan? To the fortress, Smelly shouted. As it happened, I concurred. I'd like to get a copy of that software that doesn't need to be violently yanked from my brain. Let's go see if we can find one. Works for me, Steve said. Ah! Volonic said. I knew he was frustrated, but even so, I thought it was an odd thing to say. I looked over and he was running at me, his mouth open, his eyes bulging, his arms raised in the air. I also thought that this was an odd thing to do. I turned around to see Ardov rising up behind me, prepared to bring his fists down on my head. Volonic leapt through the air and tackled him. They fell together in a heap, but in an instant Ardov was on top, raising a fist to bring it down on Volonic. I knew Volonic couldn't withstand more than one of those enhanced blows. If I let Ardov punch him, one of my major problems would be gone forever. But I didn't hesitate, not for a second. I felt sure it was no more than a quarter second. I fired my pistol, and fired again, and again. Ardov looked up at me, like the PP blasts were nothing more than a vague distraction. More blasts came in from my side, and I saw Tamrat and Steve were firing as well. Finally, Ardov toppled over. Volonic was getting to his feet, looking dazed. "Nice save," I said to him. "It was clumsy, and you should probably avoid announcing your attacks by screaming first, but still, thank you." He smiled at me. "That is what brothers do for each other."
I hate to say it, Tamrat said, but I think you two are stuck with each other.
I looked at her. She was smiling shyly at me. I just didn't care about her rules and her castes and her vows. I took her hand and felt the warmth and softness in mine. "I'm having a really bad day," I said, "and I have the feeling we're not done yet. I need you to be with me, Tamrat." She met my gaze.
"I'm right here."
"I have not authorized touching," Volonic shouted from somewhere in the distance, but he was far away. Like the rules and promises and obligations. It was all far away.
"How about we go into that fortress, get what we came for, and get out of here before Ardov wakes up again?"
Steve suggested. And because it was a great idea, we made our way towards the fortress, but not before taking some wrist restraints off of a fallen peace officer and using them on Ardov. They were made of denser material than anything we had on Earth, and I hoped that they would hold him at least for a little while, because, really, I did not want to have to deal with him again.